How's it going, guys? Tommy from Sunshine 1000. Today is October 28th, 2020, and Hurricane Zeta has either just made landfall or it's literally only a couple minutes from landfall. It's currently 5:06 Eastern Standard Time, 4:06 Central Standard Time, and either Zeta has just made landfall on the southeast coast of Louisiana or we're within the couple minutes from landfall. So I'm going to give a quick analysis to those who still have yet to be impacted by Zeta or who are being impacted by Zeta and outline the effects you may see as the eye heads over your area if it does, and what impacts you'll see in different portions of Louisiana and Mississippi as Zeta continues its trek on inland. So with Zeta, it strengthened very rapidly, even a lot more than many forecasts anticipated, as it's currently a 110 mile per hour storm, and maybe by landfall, it could be considered a major hurricane at 115 because it's been just strengthening all day, and it's as a result of it's getting some help from the jet stream, which is speeding up this storm by a little bit. And since the storm is moving to the north along with the jet stream, the southeastern side of this storm has been seeing very strong winds because the upper level winds and the lower level winds from the jet stream are coinciding with the direction that this hurricane is going. So as a result of the speed of this hurricane and the wind, we're seeing the strongest winds towards the southeastern side of the storm. Because if we take a look at the recon data measured around 110 mile per hour winds to the southeast eye wall of this storm. So while you may think that the northeastern portion might be might be where the strongest winds are in this scenario, that's far from the case, as it seems like the southeastern portion of this storm is the more stronger area. So while some areas of Louisiana might be experiencing the northern eye wall right now, I can tell you it probably could get a lot worse because there's still that southern eye wall you need to experience that will probably have much stronger winds in excess of 110 miles per hour or more, maybe major hurricane type wind conditions. So in southeast Louisiana, I would say prepare as if a tornado is headed your way because it's almost a 115 mile per hour hurricane, which is considered major hurricane status, and major hurricanes could cause extensive damage, especially if you're within the eye wall or within the track of the eye wall of this storm. And it seems like a lot of southeast Louisiana and New Orleans seems to be right in the middle of Zeta's path as it treks on to the north and east. The eye may be maybe a little bit more east than New Orleans. However, New Orleans will likely experience the eye wall of Zeta as it moves on northward, and it will bring probably 100 mile per hour wind gusts are possible in New Orleans. So watch out for that. And in terms of the radar, taking a look at it all, you're seeing the rain bands extend almost as far north as Jackson, Mississippi, and then we're seeing some rain extend as far west as Baton Rouge. However, we're seeing those rain bands now approaching New Orleans, and these rain bands are associated with higher than usual wind gusts. I would say the 40 to 50 mile per hour range, but obviously all the worst weather of this hurricane is within the eye wall, especially the southeastern eye wall of this storm, and 110, 120 mile per hour wind gusts are definitely possible all throughout southeast Louisiana. And correct me if I'm wrong, but in terms of a hurricane in southeast Louisiana, this may be the first time since Hurricane Katrina where we've seen potentially a major hurricane make landfall in southeast Louisiana. If this does strengthen to 115 miles per hour, Hurricane Gustav came close in 2008, but I'm pretty sure that made landfall at 105 miles per hour, so it didn't quite make it to that status. However, Hurricane Zeta definitely has a chance to reach Category 3 status before it makes landfall. So let me refresh to see if the radar updated, because it's now 5:10 Eastern Standard Time, and the radar went up to 4:50 Eastern Standard Time, and okay, now it updated to 505. And according to this, it's still a category 2, which is definitely good news. We don't want to see this strengthen that much. However, it's still a very potent storm that you need to take seriously. So the good news is with this storm is that it's very fast moving. It's been moving very fast as of recently thanks to the jet stream. So the good news is that this won't be a very long duration event. You're going to experience the strongest winds for a small amount of time before the storm begins to move out fairly quickly, and which is definitely good news. However, it's not that much good news for more inland areas, because since it's moving so fast, it won't have a lot of time to weaken over land before it reaches your area inland. So inland, you may experience stronger winds than you typically see for inland moving hurricanes. So Alabama, middle of Alabama, Montgomery, Atlanta, definitely watch out, because this storm is moving quite fast and it's gonna pack in winds stronger than you typically see in a landfalling hurricane moving inland. So let me take all this off because it's a little distracting, the severe storms, and track the current track of this storm. So you see here's the radar as of 5:05 p.m. and you see we're starting to see a little bit of land as the eye is approaching Louisiana, and you might be thinking that that means landfall. However, for a landfall to be confirmed, it's pretty much the entire eye circulation needs to be over land before we could consider this a landfall. And I wouldn't say it's quite there yet. It's almost there. I would say pretty much in the next few minutes, we're gonna see that landfall occur. But it seems like landfall is imminent, and then it updated again and pretending that this is a circle and this is the eye right here, it's near landfall at this point, or at landfall pretty much. And in terms of rainfall, you see that New Orleans is just getting pounded by squall lines. However, all the action is in this eye wall, so definitely watch out. And taking a look at the winds right now over southeast Louisiana, we're seeing those winds definitely increase. Here's a sustained wind speed. These are not gusts, these are sustained, and it is as a 450, so it might be a little update. And you see that those the purple represents 60-mile-per-hour winds, and I would assume they're larger than that at this point. And in New Orleans, it's weak for now. However, once that eye wall passes through, expect wind gusts up to 100 miles per hour, so you definitely need to stay indoors. I want to emphasize this all across southeast Louisiana and eventually around Gulf War, Mississippi, and the Gulf shores of Alabama as well, because those winds will be very strong. And in terms of storm surge, the storm surge is another issue, and likely the more deadlier issue that people need to worry about along the coast, because storm surge is one of the leading causes of deaths during hurricane, and there's going to be quite a bit of storm surge throughout the Gulf Coast, where it could max out to 9 feet along the coast of Mississippi. Think about that, because most people, the average height in the US is around 5'9", and so think about adding like 3 feet on top of your head. Let's say if you were average height, that means that that you have to swim in that water. That means that your house will likely be underwater and a bunch of cars floating by. And keep that in mind that only 2 feet of water is needed to move a car. And for most of these areas extending from middle Louisiana all the way to Yankeestown, Florida, you could experience storm surge that's high enough to push a car and knock you off your feet, where 1 to 3 feet of storm surge is expected all throughout the Panhandle. Increases to 3 to 5 around Mobile, and then 4 to 6 in Mobile Bay. And then in New Orleans, Lake Pontchartrain, 3 to 5 feet is expected. And then just off the coast, we're seeing 5 to 7 feet, 5 to 8 feet right around landfall. So these are definitely huge numbers for storm surge. 5 feet is an insane number that could flood a first floor home. So I would say definitely prepare and leave as soon as possible, if it's possible, because I don't want you to risk your life leaving an area where storm surge is already, where you're in the middle of the storm. However, if like I would say Mississippi, Alabama, with the little time you have, if you're along the coast, make sure to leave. And make sure to leave because that storm surge could potentially be life-threatening across the coast when we're talking about 6 to 9 feet of storm surge. So, another threat with this is also rainfall. The good news is that since it's moving quite fast, this won't be a major rainfall threat. However, there still will be 2 to 4 inches of rain expected all throughout Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama. And keep in mind that it's gonna rain those 2 to 4 inches in a very fast time period. So flash flooding is more likely in this scenario. So while it may not be a lot of rain, flash flooding is likely when we're seeing rain fall this fast across the southeast. So watch out for flash flooding, as I think this will be the main threat with this when it comes to rainfall with this storm. So if we continue to take a look at the radar, see if it made landfall or made any progress. And it's still currently just about or right at landfall at 110 miles per hour. And I want to point out with Zeta, this is now the 2020 hurricane season is tied with the 2005 hurricane season as the most active in terms of named storms ever recorded in Atlantic hurricane season history. And I think now it's pretty likely that we will beat the record because we still got November to go, which November isn't an active month, but by how active this hurricane season has been, I would assume that maybe at least one more storm forms before the season is done for, before 2020 is done for. So I think it's becoming likely we will beat the record as 2020 will beat the record as the most active hurricane season of all time, which is definitely something we don't want to see. And it just proves to you how much the weather is changing and how much more hurricanes we're seeing going into the future. But and as for the Gulf Coast, they've just been pounded by hurricane after hurricane. We saw Hurricane Sally in September. We saw Hurricane Delta, which made landfall somewhere near Hurricane Laura as well. And now we're seeing Hurricane Zeta make landfall. And we also saw Hurricane Hannah very earlier during the year where it made landfall in southern Texas. So it's been quite an active year to say the least, especially for the Gulf Coast. It's just been pounded by hurricane after hurricane this season. So yeah, that's it for this video, I guess. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to stay safe along Louisiana's southeast Gulf Coast because conditions will deteriorate quickly if they haven't already. And I hope you guys stay safe and have a good day.